My, this here Anakin guy. Maybe Vader someday later, now he's just a small fry. He left his home and kissed his mommy goodbye, saying soon I'm gonna be a Jedi. Oh!
We are about to jump into hyperdrive. You may want to hold on to your seat lest you go flying.
Oh, Ire, you startled me. Happy May the 4th, buddy.
And to you, host Jasmine, host Sam has tasked me with relaying a message for the occasion.
Oh, feel free to fire it up, buddy. I mean, that just makes sense. Sam is indeed the Star Wars person.
Jasmine, years ago we served together in the Wheatsea Repertory. Now, I'm sending you help in your struggle against the copyright bots. I regret that I am unable to present this to you in person, but my podcast has fallen under personal issues, and I'm afraid my mission to bring you more Star Wars-related outtakes has failed. I have placed a recording vital to the avoidance of the DMCA into the memory systems of this IRE unit. They will know how to encode it. You must see this safely embedded into your special. This is our most tangential hour. Help me, Jasmine. You're my only hope.
Like,
River.
I have back pocket essay rants about how the hell does the Star Wars universe tell time, that I'm not going to get into. But, like, that's the sort of thing I get really hyper nerdy about. So, like, you know, I like to, you know, tell myself that I'm, you know, mad at Disney for existing and being this conglomeration hellscape. And then I go to Galaxy's Edge and I'm like, okay, maybe Disney IP is okay, actually. Or I went to the Avengers part in Disneyland when I was in California, and I stepped foot in Avengers Campus, and I went, oh, there it is again. It is the IP. It has come for me. And quite literally, I was walking around Avengers Campus, and I did like the web slinger ride and all that jazz, and I did, Mission Breakout twice. And I think I literally captioned the Instagram post I posted after that being like, the Disney IP, you think the Disney IP will not get to you, and then it comes to bite you, like the bug that it is.
I was like, what just happened? And then she explained like, oh, I'm a nymph of the forest, and it all made sense. And I don't know, I like that, I appreciate it.
One of the YouTubers I watch, who I brought up in the 6 Degrees of Star Wars episode, who did the Giving Musicals a Fair Shake, he also has a video about romantic comedies, and it's the difference between like personal enemies and personal compatibility delineation of rom-coms. And I think that to some extent modern audiences value more the personal compatibility model than the combative. I appreciate that so much. Like, I will confess, I enjoyed Bridgerton season 2 because beyond all the sniping, there was genuine connection and similarity between the two leads.
Cold Crash Pictures.
So I guess we're ignoring the
existence.
existence.
Fun and Profit, I think is what it's called.
It's a comparison video about the Seven Brides for Seven Brothers movie and
that gem.
and
That's
Overboard.
Why?
And talking
that turd
about
in the rough.
and talking about how like someone could find genuine enjoyment in that movie, but also like how different is it from one of his favorite rom-coms, which is Overboard, the Goldie Hawn Kurt Russell movie. It's a very interesting video.
But Alana,
I
what
guess
did you think we were going to ignore?
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
That's not a rom-com, that's a horror movie.
That is psychological torture in line with Vertigo.
Yeah, but so most rom-coms are. I mean, okay. My favorite.
Let's put it this way, there's a reason I like Anakin and Padme a lot more than I like Han and Leia.
Oh, that is really complicated. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole today, thank you.
That's a bit waste.
He's literally a fascist.
That's a vat of waste. That's a vat of waste.
He's not a fascist when he's a baby. He just grows up to be
They lie in a meadow. They lie in a meadow with the animals frolic in the background and says, I just think one person should make all the decisions.
Yeah, well, no.
To be fair, he's a 19-year-old raised in a monastic order experiencing hormones for the first time.
Oh gosh, okay,
Welcome to our review of Star
this
Wars.
this is
I'm not
spoilers
saying that it's a
for
good
currently
pairing.
airing
I'm
content,
just
but for
saying
anyone
I
who's
like
watching
it more than the
Ahsoka,
30-year-old Myra
fascism as a method of towards peace is a theme in that. So
Yeah.
we can talk about that
I froze up
some
for a
other time.
second. I'm just gonna say, I'm not saying that Anakin and Padme are a perfect couple by any means, but I still prefer them to the 30-year-old perving on the 19-year-old.
Yeah,
There
don't
is
kind
that,
of
yeah.
forget how ages work in Star Wars, in part because George
Harrison.
Lucas is a weirdo.
Okay.
But to get back on topic,
This is
Beauty and the Beast.
Outtakes.
so
I am so sad that I just thought of this while Sam is not here because it really does kind of give off almost Jar Jar vibes. That you were trying so hard to make something that would appeal to the kids that it's just completely tonally wrong.
Yeah.
So now please use it for something other than horror movies.
Yeah. No.
I am so slash up that trend where like, oh, it comes
I'm
into
glad
public
we have a
domain and then there's a
slash
horror
movie.
movie.
I'm glad
in,
it
like 20 seconds.
And now nobody has to make another one.
Yes, exactly.
Actually, yes, they plan to, unfortunately. I'll obviously play the Star Wars.
They
music
could
for that.
easily do that, but they could just as easily do a crossover between Winnie the Pooh and Sherlock Holmes, where they have to find out who's attacking his bees.
Okay, slow down there, Alan
I
Moore.
love that. I love that. I want that. I like, particularly
Winnie the
because
Pooh shows up in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen,
We
in the
know.
channel where Nina meets Sherlock Holmes in retirement.
I know.
that's amazing. But I would absolutely adore an elderly Sherlock Holmes who's retired to raise bees, fighting with Winnie the Pooh.
Can I say more about the public domain?
Yes.
Sorry.
And speaking of Sam, of course, this is another crossover. We degree 1 bitches! Is this my first degree 1? I think it might be. That's awesome.
No, you did Willow with me.
Well, yes, but I mean, for my thing. But yes, Willow obviously was your first degree 1.
Oh, God. You say that, but I've inflicted the holiday special on people.
Yeah, but you do that anyway. So,
Is this my first degree 1? I think it might be. That's awesome.
No, you did Willow with me.
Well, yes, but I mean, for my thing. But yes, Willow obviously was your first degree 1.
Oh, God. Also, when you find out that at one point George Lucas wanted Michael Jackson for Jar Jar Binks, and you're like, oh, thank fuck that didn't happen.
I'm sorry, what?
What?
yeah.
1999.
That's
We'll talk about it.
wild.
We'll talk about it in December.
Okay, as I absorb that, I realize I have not gone into my history with Labyrinth.
We have. I'm so sorry. We've
Oh
got.
gosh, yeah.
But yeah, you know
I will
what?
point out we've been going for almost an hour and we haven't actually talked about the movie.
You don't say, Sam! You don't say!
Again, the reason I wanted to start this recording at like 7 at night was so that we weren't hitting midnight having not actually talked about the movie.
I am sorry about the music, man.
No, that was delightful. That is part of the joy. It's gonna be a great time.
Yeah.
And a hell of an edit, I'm sure. So sorry about that in advance too, Jazz. But
It's okay.
Sorry,
I
Jazz.
knew what I was getting into.
have you now told two jokes where the punchline is that Connor is from Ireland in recordings back to back?
I don't know.
Because weren't we all
It's a pretty
the
good
last
punchline.
one, and you made a joke and said you could make it because of Connor. This is not air order, so this is gonna like make no sense if Jazz keeps it in. But yes, I'm pretty sure that I've done 2 recordings with you in a span of less than 2 weeks where you made jokes about Connor's ethnic heritage.
I will say it's hilarious that we literally tried to start this by saying we have gone almost an hour without talking about the movie, and we have still proceeded to not really talk about the movie.
Listen,
Oh no, I'm fully on task here.
Because clearly
everything is
the comics.
yeah, but it's backstory. It's part of the movie. It's important.
That's
to
like
me,
saying
right?
if I started talking about the expanded universe in my Star Wars podcast.
It is nowhere near that bad. There is not that much expanded in the universe.
Anyway, but yes, I do appreciate the backstory. Don't get me wrong here, Addie. This is not a slight against you. Let me be clear. I very much want to read this comic someday.
But we gotta talk about the actual movie.
Okay, there is also a not insignificant number of Gen X and now millennial parents nostalgically showing it to their children, because it is definitely one of those films that falls under that category. And that is not a bad thing. That is merely a statement of fact. But one of the things that is introducing it to, or that is keeping it as part of the cultural whatever, beyond David Bowie, beyond Jim Henson, beyond, the quality of the film itself, is that it's stuck with a lot of people, and so they're passing it along. And that's the same thing with Star Wars and Indiana Jones, for that matter.
Have you seen the past 10 decades of writing? It's like, they'll always bring up that one line from the space battles thing that we can't talk about.
It much like the Force.
Pen. Yeah.
Already on it.
Oh.
She was also in Alex Rider, which is...
Yeah. She plays Sabina, I think.
Yeah, no, yeah. I didn't see that either.
But she's a lovely actress, and I would like to see her get to do more stuff, because she hasn't really done much in... Oh, I did not know... Jazz, we will cut this out, but she's in Star Wars Visions, which means we are allowed to talk about Bridgerton in Star Wars Visions.
That's gonna be fun!
Oh, is she in the Tiefling French one? Or is she in the
She's in the episode called I Am Your Mother.
Oh yeah, that's the French Tieflings. That's the aerial dancer French Tiefling one.
What?
That one's weird. The aliens look like
I haven't
tieflings.
watched any of these, so...
The Visions is incredible. If you have
And I'm sorry, are you saying tiefling when you mean Twi'lek?
No, I mean tiefling. They're not full Twi'leks. They don't have full head tails. They just have like little horns. More in line of like the Zabraks, but without the tattooing. So they look a little bit like tieflings.
Interesting. Anyway, getting back to the subject at hand.
Yep.
Yes. Anyway, we're cutting so much of this out. But
Sorry,
it's okay. It's okay. May 6th still counts for the grand Star Wars kind of weekend things going on because, of course, it's Revenge of the Sixth.
I'm unfamiliar with the Clone Wars CGI show, so I don't know how much they touch on the events in between. I assume quite a bit, but...
That's actually more like the Bad Batch's job, and then there's Rebels, but...
Okay.
There's a lot of Star Wars you're forgiven for not watching it all.
I don't.
Let's see. But sort of fill space, I guess. So, my connection to Star Wars is somewhat tenuous. I've seen all of like the main films, and there are like individual things that I interacted with more. Like when I was a kid, I played a lot of Star Wars Battlefront 2, so I am quite familiar with the plot being told in that, where it's from the perspective of, I guess, the luckiest clone trooper alive, as they're, they become Vader's fist, and they become like this, the apocalypse log of like the entire clone trooper, of every clone trooper.
And they're actually able to hit stuff.
And
Shout out to the 501st. Deserve. You're such a fucking mess.
And yeah, we were there. You weren't there on Felucia. You weren't there on Princess Leia's ship. You weren't there.
My favorite headcanon that I've seen in regards to like the clone troopers like post Clone Wars is the idea that like
the reason that the 501st gets all of the like messy clones, so to speak, like Hard Case, who like is very clearly like an ADHD analog, or like or like Fives and Echo, who are like the way, like the Domino twins, who are the way they are, and what have you, is so that like they become all very personally loyal to Anakin, and Anakin becomes personally loyal to them, so that by the time that Palpatine does his transfer, the 501st is there, raring to go. Because I'm like, fuck yeah, new perspectives.
I'm kind of a fan of all of the Star Warses that don't include the Skywalkers. Maybe not all. Han Solo
had potential, and then it got neutered.
Yeah, but like there's a bunch of really, really good ones, and kind of whenever they are, I just like the galaxy, and so like telling new cool stories in that galaxy kind of pick a time, and I'm happy. They're all kind of the same too. They sort of rhyme.
Yeah, it's like poetry.
1,000 years ago, they're calling them swoop bikes, and today they're calling them speeder bikes, and then 15 years ago, they were calling them pod racers. Like, they're the same thing, though.
Yeah, that was what was wild to me about KOTOR. You know, it's supposed to be like hundreds, if not hundreds and hundreds of years before the events of the story, and the tech looks exactly the same.
Yep.
I'm sorry, we've had cars for 100 years, and we've gone from Model Ts to fucking Teslas, and I don't think that's an upward move.
That's a fair point. All right.
So, do you want me to give scores collectively at the end, or do you want to hear your point breakdown now?
Either way.
I feel like collectively at the end would be funnier.
Okay. Yeah. And also, I will say, do we still want to do the superlatives we usually do?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah.
All right, let's...
Neither of you have been on one of these before, so we usually do superlatives for this, because we never really did a rubric for this before, but Sam got very excited, so...
I mean, I did a rubric for mine. We just didn't do superlatives.
Sam,
I have a
no
brand,
way.
okay?
Excited? Never.
Okay, I hear somebody typing.
I think it's Justin.
I think so.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind muting when you're typing, sorry.
Actually, that's...
I like the Fire Island idea better, where everybody is just sort of like, this is a poor man's McDermott. This is a poor man's like
Christensen?
I don't know. Yes, exactly. Everybody should be just.
You said Fire Island. You meant Ember, right?
Ember Island. Yes. Oh my god. I am consumed.
Fire Island was our second.
Yeah, I think they should be.
Yay, nay.
I can see it, but
I can see it.
Addie's is still also sharing.
I am not sharing anymore.
That is so weird.
Okay, well, I
From my
found a way to
perspective,
minimize your frame, so I guess.
From
I
my
guess we're just stuck with Vader on bomb.
That's very valid. Okay.
That's how he impregnated Padme.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so mothers and fuckers of the jury, as you all lose your mind over that dumbass pun. Now, I'm not going to do a whole Mandalorian crash course, though I do have one written if anyone would like to see it after the show. Okay, maybe I am considering making him that Kry's family branch that produces Corky, since we don't have a goddamn explanation as to where the fuck this rant has been redacted to save space. And some scattered Mandela, as it still exists, y'all. This ranch has also been redacted to save space. Runner-up for the younger version for Erin Kellyman, who I would have put here, but she's already been in the sprawling franchise's endless nest, so I can't.
Editor Jasmine here. We did go on to suggest castings for their pitch, and I do actually deeply regret not suggesting Naomi Scott to be Mina Massoud's Romeo. I mean, Mina Massoud's Mandalorian Romeo, sure. Let's try that again.
I have a recommendation for Benvolio.
Okay.
An older Benvolio, Keanu Reeves.
Keanu is too old for the age bracket.
You don't have.
So everyone in this casting is.
He's in his 50s.
Yeah, Keanu
Oh
is.
no, I
no,
know,
Keanu's
I know
is-
that.
is-
I'm just saying.
late
I'm just saying
50s.
you could adjust slightly and age up Benvolio to have him deliver the anger to go alongside the priests. I'm gonna use this.
Yeah, you could, and I think what you'd have to do in that
Which I
casting
think
is you would have to
obviously
leave it to
your
the
priest
anger.
is gonna be a forge.
Yeah, a forge master. Yeah,
A
or
smith, yeah.
what you do with proposing Keanu is you get the niggling question of what is a man this old doing in a society that dies so young. That would be a case of that is
make him seem more like a badass.
that is an old man in a young man's game. But then it also begs the question as to why the hell he is hanging out with these losers.
Alternately,
I
Daniel Radcliffe.
I understand where you're coming from, but I'm also like, what did you say? I mean, when you were pitching like the fact that your Heart of Darkness, the horror was going to be like Alderaan going up. First of all, for those of you who haven't read from a certain point of view, go do that. It does Alderaan's planet exploding from Bale's perspective under the belief that he believes that Leia is dead.
Oh no.
That's not even the saddest story in that book. But yeah, no, the perspective of Alderaan going up with Bale holding Bran in his arms, believing that Leia is dead.
Before Sam and I start
nothing
crying.
Also, I don't know you never really describe what the superlatives were.
You just make them up.
I see.
Be as shitposty as you want to be.
Well, you took my Baz Luhrmann joke, so I can't make that one anymore. Let's see. What do you figure a Steven Spielberg Star Wars would look like? What do you think he would? Do you think it would look like AI? Do you think it would just be one of the times where he just actually tries to make something wacky?
Justin, when we say superlatives, like it's a yearbook, most likely to succeed, most likely to win an Oscar, that kind of thing.
Oh, I see.
Although I'm definitely game for discussing that at some point, so that sounds interesting.
Yeah, I feel like that's something more to be done on my podcast.
I see. I can't even remember of the name of that capital planet that I thought was Coruscant until someone told me it wasn't.
Osmium Prime.
Yes. Yeah, have something.
It's supposed to be Coruscant, so.
I mean, a Star Wars Lysistrata would be like, oh god, how would you do that? The thing is that none of the rebellion soldiers ever go home long enough, and
Yeah, true. Except for that one guy in the Clone Wars, there's no really canonical evidence whether or not clones fuck.
So the thing is that there are competing theories about whether or not the clones are locked and loaded when they are created. On the one hand, you have the Genghis Khan theory in that the clones were indeed locked and loaded and everyone in the galaxy can trace their lineage back to Jango Fett because, oops, the clones got around and they fucked a lot. On the other hand, there is the running theory that the clones were created to be perfect killing machines and therefore were not locked and loaded, so they're all
sterile?
Yeah, they're all fucking sterile. So take your pick. That is, I don't believe there is firm canon one way or the other. And if there is, Dave, I don't want to know.
What you can do as well, as long as we're doing things that won't be in the public domain for the rest of our lives. Did anyone watch the film Starbuck?
No.
I know of it.
Alright, so do that, but for Jango Fett. Well, now that you mention it, if we are doing most likely to be appropriated by edgelords, we could do Octu History X.
I think that's just The Last Jedi.
No!
Oh god.
You cannot
You're not
blame
talking
The
about
Last
The Last
Jedi
Jedi.
for the bullshit that it created.
So I think the same thing could be said of American History X. Right? It's like those edgelord guys that have that had posters of Tyler Durden on their wall in high school because they thought he was the hero.
Yeah.
You're fundamentally misunderstanding the source material.
That Ryan Johnson thinks Kylo Ren is the bad guy, but his movie also kind of puts a lot of effort into showing you that maybe Kylo Ren is not the bad guy to the point that it worries me.
We're not doing Last Jedi discourse. Sam, give out your rubric scores.
Alright. Fine. We're gonna dub this over in post with ire, correct?
I think so, yes. Long, long time ago, in a galaxy far away, Naboo was under an attack. And I thought me and Qui-Gon Jinn would talk the Federation into maybe cutting them a little slack. Oh, is that the end of the outtakes? Okay, cool. Well, dear listeners, I hope you all enjoyed the kind of unofficial Star Wars weekend that we had just now. I mean, we had May the 4th, and depending on who you ask, it's Revenge of the 5th. Apparently, it could also be Revenge of the 6th. I've heard it both ways. But if you go by Revenge of the 5th, then you could have Return of the 6th. Anyway, if you're listening to our outtake special, you probably know the drill by now, but just in case you don't, please feel free to follow this show on Twitter at IER Podcasts. Follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Faye Riviera. Please consider spreading the word about this podcast to your friends, spreading the links around, giving us ratings and reviews. And if you have room in your wallets, consider donating to our Patreon, where we have fun bonus content, including some PowerPoints related to the IOR episode that we also are going to be posting today. And you could also support us on Ko-Fi, where I might finally have a prize for you there. Whatever you are able to do to help us reach the next chapter of our story is greatly appreciated. May the Force be with you, and stories gain power in each retelling.